RSNA 2023 experienced the future of medical imaging when the radiology community comes together as we help you discover how to lead through change. Immerse yourself in the latest technological developments, see imaging innovations in action, sharpen your skills with high-impact learning, and connect with radiology colleagues from around the world. Join us November 26th through the 30th for the biggest week in radiology, in person, virtually, or both. Register now for RSNA 2023 at rsna.org/register.
Welcome to the RSNA Radiographics podcast. I am Refky Nicola, an abdominal radiologist at SUNY Upstate Medical University in Syracuse, New York, and one of the assistant editors of the podcast. Today, we're speaking to Dr. Courtney Tomblinson, who's an assistant professor of neuroradiology at Vanderbilt University, and Dr. Paul Bunch, who's an assistant professor of neuroradiology at Wake Forest University, about their recent article, Finding Your Niche, in the April 2023 edition of the Radiographics Journal. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Tell me, how important it is to find your professional niche?
Sure. Yeah. So I think one of the arguments that we at least try to make in the editorial is that really we all have a professional niche. And I think one idea is some people take a more active role in defining what their niche is, while others may be more accepting of the circumstances that they are in and willing to be defined by the needs of the group or by the department. And I wouldn't say there is any one right or wrong path. And honestly, a combination of both of these approaches may be the most adaptive way to go. But I would really assert and encourage listeners to think about some of the many good reasons that there are to be as proactive as possible in defining your niche. Because I think if you're able to do this, then you really maximize your opportunities for professional creativity, authenticity, and job satisfaction.
How soon should one establish a professional niche?
So I think this largely depends on the individual, and is something I would really view as more of a process rather than a switch that flips on and off. You know, like now I have a niche, now I don't, now I do again. And I would kind of put out there that it's really never too soon to start intentionally thinking about what excites you and what you think the areas are that you can make a really positive impact. But I would encourage trainees especially to really stay open-minded, try to learn all of the different skills that there are in radiology. And really, I think there are benefits to remaining open-minded, even out in practice. So, for example, I've been out for 5 years, and I feel really fortunate to have had a lot of successes in what I consider to be some of my niche areas, but I'm still intentional about trying new things and remaining open to the possibility that my career could take a different turn if that's where my passions or the available opportunities happen to lead.
What's the first step that one can take to develop a professional niche?
So I think that, the very first step here is going to be introspection and really being honest with yourself about both what your strengths are and where your interests lie, and then figuring out a way to make those two things align. I would also say that it's also a really good idea if your strengths and your interests also fill a gap in your practice. So that could be something clinical or non-clinical. But if there's a need and you can help fill that, that also increases your value, but also your satisfaction. You're contributing to the team in which you work on. And that may also accelerate your ability to become more knowledgeable and serve as a key contributor in your professional setting.
One of the advices that you mentioned in the editorial is that you should become a speaker. How can one become a speaker in your area of interest if you've never talked about it before?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think this goes back to sponsorship and really the value of sponsoring others. So if you're seeking to become a speaker, but you really haven't spoken on this topic before, the first step is really just letting people in your sphere know that you're interested, being proactive, and you may have to even be a little forward and raise your hand and say, hey, I would really like to give a talk on this. Do you know of any opportunities? You can ask your mentor, you can ask your colleagues, you can even ask people that you serve with committees on, or even friends, peers at other institutions if they're aware of opportunities, or if they have any opportunities come up if they would keep you in mind. But really, this is, letting your mentors know, and those mentors can then become sponsors for you. I would also recommend having some topics in mind. So if there's a specific topic, of course, that's easier. But if you're really just wanting to get your feet wet and get on the speaker platform, so to speak, then I think having a topic in mind that you can suggest at the time you're volunteering yourself is a good idea.
You mentioned mentorship. How essential is it to find a mentor in your area of interest to guide you through this process?
Yeah, I think it certainly helps. Yeah, it helps tremendously. I've benefited a lot from mentors, and hope to continue to try to pay that forward where I can. But it may not be a luxury that everyone necessarily feels like they have at least easy access to. And so I think going to professional conferences, for me, that's neuroradiology, head and neck radiology. For other people, it may be something different, but that's really a great place to meet people. And honestly, I've been surprised at how willing really well established and accomplished individuals are to go out of their way to help out. And so I think kind of being proactive in that regard, if you're able to make it to a conference, is a great thing to do. If you're not able to make it to a conference, really things have opened up in the world of kind of online, virtual, social media, et cetera. And so connecting through social media has worked for a lot of people too. And that's become a much more accepted way to approach people than it was just a few years ago.
To add to Paul's comment, I think it's really important to remember or not neglect the idea of peer mentorship, right? So, people who are your similar level of training or experience, peer mentorship is super valuable and can really alter the course of your career as well and help you grow both professionally and personally. And I consider Paul a peer mentor of mine. We've worked together on many different projects and committees over the years. And so, keep those in mind. A mentor or a sponsor doesn't have to be someone who's much, much more senior, although you need those too.
I think it's interesting that you bring up the issue of peer mentorship because not everybody thinks about that or that option as an opportunity for you to develop for your personal development, professional development. So I think that's good that you bring that up. What advice do you have for those who want to publish their work in their area of interest?
Yeah, so here I would say, connect with your clinical colleagues. There are lots of opportunities to explain through print what is clinically evident or relevant to radiologists. And get in the habit of writing. Sometimes, like for me, this is really hard. Sometimes you have to schedule it. I actually use time blocking on my calendar when I want to write, and I try to do it consistently. Start by reading the work of others with a writer's lens. So maybe less of a scientific lens, but more of a writer's lens, looking at their style, their organization, and their flow. And then put what you've learned into practice. And finally, I would say be ready to resubmit if needed. Professional writing, I think, is about half planning and half resilience and bouncing back and taking suggestions that you get both from reviewers, but also have other people read your work before you submit it to strengthen it.
Yeah, I think those are great comments from Courtney. And I would just add kind of on the getting in the habit of writing some words that I received from a mentor that I found really helpful, where really see writing as part of your job, right? Like I hear a lot that, I don't like to write or writing is hard, but like we don't say that about reading cases, right? Like reading cases is hard. And some days that's harder than others. Taking call is hard, but it's part of our job. And so I think if you can get in the mindset that writing is really part of my job, if I'm in academics and I want to be successful, then that can help motivate you to work toward writing as a habit.
Do you have any other additional advice for people who want to improve their writing skills?
I think kind of just getting something down on the page. It doesn't have to be great. And some, I've heard as a tip, some people will say, this is my really, really bad first draft or like that. That's the name of the file. And so not to be feeling like it's got to be perfect or even good. It's just having something down to start with, I think helps. And then can take a little bit of courage, but be brave and be willing to show it to others and get feedback would be some thoughts I have. Courtney, anything to add to that?
No, I think those are all great. I think, when the red ink comes back on your draft from whomever it is, just remember that they are helping you. If they send you back a draft with no edits, then that's probably you're either, a prodigy or it's maybe not as helpful. So try to change your mindset. And it's not intuitive to most of us. So I'm in that camp too.
Well, thank you both for joining us. You can read the entire editorial article in the April 2023 edition of the Radiographics Journal. Thank you very much.